Hey collectors, Dark Cross here. What we have here is a Mega Red Bowen Designs mini bust, and on one side it kind of gives you the bio of the character. So here it goes on to give you their comic book name, who he was created by, with Jim Lee and John Byrne, and then he appeared in issue number 4, and it kind of gives us a little quick bio of the character. I first saw him in X-Men number 1. There was a previews at the very end of the issue, and there was a Mega Red there, and also the X-Men animated series. And yeah, so that's where I mainly came familiar with the character. So, and when we go move around to the other side of the box, it's just going to have the front again, and then the last side will have how big the bust is, 6 inches, and how it was sculpted by Martin Canale. So that's it, and let's get ready for see what it is in the box. Alright, this is Bowen Designs Omega Red inside the box. Now, I bought this one from eBay, so the seller didn't have a plastic wrap on it, didn't have tissue, and the tentacles were just kind of loose inside. Now, I would assume the tentacles, 2 of them would be probably placed in the hand, and maybe the other 2 would be put in the above his shoulder on the left side, and probably like wrapped around somewhere in there. But yeah, it didn't come that way. I'm lucky, like there was no further damage to it. But yeah, so it just comes with 4 of them. So let's get on to the review. All right, here is Omega Red fully assembled. We'll start off with the issues that this one had. Well, first, like I said, when I unboxed it, he was extremely dirty. He had like a thin layer of dust all over him. After cleaning it out, I just kind of went closer and started looking at it, and there's little marks on his armor there. Over here on this side, you can kind of go in a bit. There is more marks on his armor, and then like a little just paint scratch there. So it's wasn't in the best condition. And again, like I didn't pay much for it, so I'm not too broken up about it. It's just disappointing, getting something and seeing all these issues. So, but in either case, overall, it's pretty good. Yeah, like his hair, it's like still like seems really dirty, like a layer of dust on it. I'm gonna try to go in, maybe get some water, like a little bit of water on a cloth, and try to wipe it out, see if it'll come off. But overall, it's a really good piece. The base, it's just the Omega Red symbol. It's like a dark graphite, or just dark color, and then within the cracks it's like red, so the red's peeking through. So let's see if I can try to go in a bit. So yeah, it's pretty well detailed for how small it is. And Bowen Designs, I know like people called it was like a Bowen scale is what they said, is it's more like, it's not 1/6, not true 1/6, it's like a 1/7 type of scale. I think what they tried to do is they tried to make them like 12 inches in height, most of the pieces. So like that's why like some of the smaller characters like Wolverine were put on a larger base to make them that 12 inches in height. But I think it was more like a 1/7. The actual busts themselves are like a 1/8 scale. So they're a tad smaller. So like I'll put this one next to my Jean Grey later in the video, and you can see that while Omega Red is a bigger character, he doesn't seem that much bigger than Jean when he should actually be. So again, this one was sculpted by Martin Canale, and he currently does a lot of Sideshow stuff. So I have his Sideshow Sabretooth. He did the Lobo Premium format. I think he helped with the Doom on Throne. He did Taskmaster recently, and the new Deathstroke coming out. He's done Wolverines in the past. So yeah, he generally does a very bulky type of sculpt, huge muscles, and that's exactly what this Omega Red has. Check out those arms. He's huge, just like, he's popping out everywhere. He looks all roided up, which he's supposed to be. He's like a super soldier. So I first saw Omega Red in, like probably many of us, in the X-Men animated series, the episode Red Dawn, where they fight Omega Red. You find out about him. He's like a Soviet Union super soldier, and he's augmented with this suit, I think carbonadium or something. He has carbonadium tentacles, and I think in the comics, like if like those tentacles got a normal human, it would kill them. For mutants, it kind of just drains them. and I think he's always looking for something called the sea sink or something like that, which would prevent him from having to drain people. I think that's how it works. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, let me just pick it up so I can get closer to his face. So you see his face; it's pretty good. I mean, everything with Bowen is extremely well painted all the time. I don't think I've had a really bad paint job from a Bowen, except maybe like one of the earlier ones. Like I had a Nihilus, and I didn't quite like that paint job, but for the most part, most of all the Bowens that I did receive had excellent paint. Very few imperfections. This one, I mean, you can see his face. I mean, it's got that mean looking face. The things on his side of his face, hold on, have a lot of good detail. The only thing that doesn't have that good detail is his teeth. You can see it's just like, looks like he has two big teeth, like one in the front, one in the bottom. So, but again, this is 1/8 scale, hard for them to get it. And if you go it in a bit, let's see, you could see maybe individual teeth were probably in the sculpt before, but yeah, it's not that great. I mean, it's just two big teeth is what it looks like. But overall, the rest of it looks amazing. I mean, these tentacles here are posable. I just try to pose them in a different way right now, but I'll put them in the center. So yeah, I mean, look at his back. I mean, just huge muscles, armor. Everything's very comic accurate. His hair is extremely well done. I mean, you see strands moving around, and this is a really awesome sculpt by Martin Canalia with being such a small scale. I mean, it's 1/8, and this came out in like I think 2005. So and he probably started sculpting it probably a year before that. So this is definitely a good 20 years old. Yeah, and I don't know. You could always. Bowen is a really good company to start collecting with. I mean, they did so many characters, a lot of obscure characters, and you can create like whole teams, lines, whatever you want with Bowen. And yeah, they're. I mean, for most part, they're relatively affordable. Like a lot of them have gone down in price. Like I had sold Miss Marvel, Warbird, the museum pose, and it started selling for like maybe 5, 6 a few years ago. Now it's back down to like the 300s. So some of the grails like Sentinel, Maestro, Retro Cable, those are still, pretty much selling for a lot, but you can get a lot of them for a pretty good price. I mean, cheaper than some of Iron Studios' new 1/10 scales. You can get Bowens for, and Bowens 1/7. So yeah, if you're interested, just start looking them up. I mean, look at the paint job on this Omega Red. I mean, it's very shiny. His arms and face have that like whitish bluish hue. I mean, it kind of matches his tentacles, which kind of don't like. These should have been more silver or like metallic looking. But overall, everything else is fantastic. And I mean, I attribute the hair, the dirtiness of the hair, I think it's more to how this was displayed and the layer of dust that it had on it. So I think it's a lot of dust that's in there, when I think I've seen other pictures and it's really a vibrant yellow. But I don't know, maybe I'll pick another one up down the line and choose and get this one repainted to the purple, the gold armor, and the white hair, similar to his Player 2 version in Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. That's what I used to play a lot when I was in high school, so I would always kind of pick those colors for him. Thought it looked really cool. Anyway, yeah, so again, this would be a good proximity piece even to the XM Omega Red. They're kind of like in a similar pose, so yeah, so and they don't make many of him. I mean, there's only the one official XM quarter scale. There's a few smaller scale of him, but Sideshow's never made one. There's been a lot of customs, but the one where he's on the cryo chamber, that one's like super expensive if you want to get it. And I think there's a couple others, but they're to each their own. I mean, some of them I didn't like, but yeah. So I mean, for mainly you can only get him like custom wise if you want a larger scale. But yeah, so this is Omega Red again. I'll probably try to rebuild some of my Bowen X-Men villains. I had most of them, a long time ago, but then I sold them all for like quarter scale stuff. But anyway, yeah, here he is. All right, so this is the Bowen Designs Marvel Girl next to the Bowen Designs Omega Red. Let me just lift him up a bit. So you can see scale-wise, let's just try to zoom in on him. He's bigger because he's a bigger character, but his head is not as big as her head. So you could tell that like the scale-wise, he's a bit smaller. But still, it's a pretty sizable bust. Because he's a big character. I mean, I've had other Bowens. I had the Bowen Surtur and Groot, and those are really large characters. And so is the Maestro. The Maestro looks like he's more in line with the Bowen full size statues. I think I had both him and the bust, and yeah, they were pretty much the same size. But yeah, these are a little bit smaller. So you can see here, but still, like when you're displaying a bunch of these next to each other, you're really not going to tell. But as you move in closer and you try to get him close to each other, you'll see that, yeah, he is a bit smaller than a normal statue. And Jean's not that big of a character, so, so he should be a lot larger than her. But, yeah, so I just wanted to give you a sense of the scale of a mini bust compared to a Bowen full size. And, yeah, there we go. So, anyway, good pickup. You can probably get them for fairly cheap. So, all right. Thanks again.